This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. The time being 4:46 p.m., I'd like to call the meeting of March 17th, 2022 to order. Before we get started, if you are joining us virtually, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you wish to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's see. We will go and review the minutes from December 17th, 2021, February 17th, 2022, March 3rd, 2022, and March 12th, 2022.
December 17th?
Yeah, it was, no,
Oh,
December 5th.
7th,
December 7th, sorry. If I said the 17th, I apologize. I did it here. Now let's see.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of December 7th, 2021.
Ruggles second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Motion passes. I should mention that, let the record show that John Scanlon is not here. He is on his way and will be here shortly. Minutes of February 17th, 2022.
I made one correction, hold on. This is not a correction, but it's just a preference. Actually, it's my preference. When we're doing the minutes, even though it says it's just proper, on the top, under Winnisquam Market, 2 of 4, we state the proper name in the parentheses in bold, and then we just say Craig and Doug. And I just think that's improper because in a couple paragraphs underneath, we say Chuck and Roberts and Laura Johnson. We're just consistent. Either do Chuck and Laura or Craig and Doug. Preferably proper names, because somebody reading this 5-10 years from now really like to be proper about it. I'm sorry, I left my copy at home where I circled it. I can't see it now, so
Well, that's
we'll just, I had another correction.
Oh, it's page 2. Any other changes or corrections? Make a motion to approve the minutes of February 17th as corrected.
Second?
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
One abstention. Motion passes. Joe Justman is the abstention. Minutes of March 3rd, 2022. Move those to the floor. Excuse me. Any changes?
What's that? Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second?
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approval minutes of March 3rd, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Minutes of March 12th, 2022.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of March 12th as written.
Second.
Seconded by Scott Ruggles. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Make a motion that we accept a donation from Caroline Claremont for $10 for the Tilton Senior Center.
Second?
Motion in 2 seconds. Joe Justman. Any discussion? Thank you, Ms. Claremont, for your generous donation.
Thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Motion passes. Make a motion that we accept. Make a motion to accept the terms of the Emergency Management Performance Grant as presented in the amount of.
Excuse me, do you really want to do that one, Johnson?
No, that's probably not, I want to, yeah. All right, I won't make a motion.
Actually, I take that back because there are only 3 places to sign on this document, and it has to be this document. You can't alter it. So only 3 selectmen are going to be able to sign it to begin with, but.
What's it for, do you need?
So I had applied for a grant through the state to do an update of the emergency operations plan for Tilton, because it's been, I think, since 2006 or something like that. And it's called the Local Emergency Operations Plan. It's a $4,000 grant that they give us $4,000, and we match $4,000 in kind by use of our staff time in helping them put that plan together. So it should be, needs to be done.
So it's where it's Tilton's emergency plan, management plan, not just the PD, right?
Correct.
Okay. It encompasses all Tilton.
I remember working on a plan with Sandy Plessner in
Yep.
whatever, 2012, maybe,
Well,
2013.
And there's a hazard mitigation plan, which we are in process of.
That's what this was.
Well, this one's an emergency operations.
Ah.
So,
Different, I guess.
yeah,
Okay, and the amount that we have to provide,
$4,000 in
I
kind.
get that, but can we do it in kind? Like,
Yes.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you just said.
okay.
Did you,
I missed that part.
and are you the one that's just gonna work on this, or is this a committee that's working on
No,
it?
so I worked with Julia Chase, who was working for Homeland Security at the time. And you may recall that we sent out bids to 3 different companies to give us to bid on the project. And Kevin LaChapelle was involved in it at the time. And Kevin had worked with, ultimately the group that we chose was the ones who actually did the original. And Kevin highly recommended them, as did Julia. So I think the
I
board.
vaguely remember that, yeah. Thank you. I just thought the public should hear that again. Okay. All right,
Let me make my motion. Just for the record,
Well,
John Scanlon joined the meeting at 4:56. For the record.
yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted to go back and do the,
Oh, go
now
back.
that he's here.
Okay. Go back and do the,
Well, what you're supposed to do is when you start organization day,
Yeah.
electing chair.
all right. We'll go back.
we'll
The
talk
time
about this after.
We'll go back to this. We're gonna go back now that we have a full board, and it's the first meeting after the town meeting, and our first order of business is to select a new chair and a new vice chair. So,
Joe has to see these.
Joe,
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Scott Ruggles as chairman of the board for the upcoming year.
I'll second
motion and a second. Any discussion?
It's non-debatable, Scott.
that. Well, any others?
Yeah.
There's nominations, or
Yeah, is there any other
I
nomination
move to appoint.
what should be nominations, but go ahead.
or nominate? No other nominations? Okay. All those in favor of Mr. Ruggles becoming the chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Ah,
I'll abstain.
And
You
No
don't
choice.
have-
I-
you don't have-
You
I know I don't have
to.
to, but I was brought up that way.
All right,
So if my mom's watching, she'll give me, I'll get in trouble.
guess what? You're now the chair.
So,
Here you go. John, you got all elected to all the other committees, just so you know. So you.
I knew it.
So you're,
So you get the flag seat then?
no, yeah, I was just
Hand
gonna
him
give
the
you the
gavel.
stuff. Yeah, you get the gavel.
No, that's, I'll go from here. and then we can
Next
switch.
week, we'll switch.
Okay.
no, let the green man sit in the middle.
By the way, I don't need all of your other stuff. That's yours.
All right.
I just. So we're for nominations on chair, on vice chair,
Do
right?
you have the gavel?
So,
Up there.
right here.
Just don't make me.
I was always closer to it anyways, so. So next, thank you, by the way. Next motion or next order of business is to, any nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Joe.
I'll second. Any other nominations? All in favor of Joe Jessamine as vice chair? Say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Did that get a second, by the way?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
it did.
good.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
Any opposed? Good. So Joseph Jessamine is the vice chair for the next year.
The chair of the.
One way to look at it.
So we now need to determine, we now to think and determine who will be heading and going to the different boards and committees.
And I have that list. I can name them off and you can decide. So currently, Scott Ruggles is the ex officio on the budget committee and the alternate ex officio is Eric.
I have no problem. I actually really liked it because it gave me a really good view of that budget side. And I would be happy to do it again for at least for one more year. But it was just overall, it was just a very, very good experience working with some experienced people and being able to see the budget side of it. So I would not mind doing that again, but I'm not bound to it. Mr. Jessica.
Yeah, I make a motion to appoint Scott Ruggles to be ex officio of the budget committee for the upcoming year.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Good. Everyone in favor of Scott Ruggles being ex officio for budget committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Alternate ex officio
Alternate ex officio.
is currently Eric Pyler.
I'm happy to do it again. The ex officio was very good attendance.
It's an easy gig. I'll make a motion to appoint Eric Pyra as the alternate ex officio to the budget committee for the upcoming year.
Ruggles second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Everyone in favor of Eric Pyra as the alternate ex officio to budget, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Mr. Chair, can I'm not opposing.
So,
I just have a question.
yes, Selectman
Do
Constantine.
we need a motion for each one? I mean, in the past, we've done consensus that if the same person wants to do that gig again, and the board agrees, then we just had consensus and that was it. Otherwise, we take nominations and then make the motion for a new person.
I don't
Do we need a motion each time somebody gets
Yes.
into the committee?
think we did it.
Just takes its time consuming.
Well, however this board wants to do it, that's just the way it's been done since I've been here. If you want to do it another way, that's fine with me.
I'd rather have a motion on record.
Next committee, Jeannie.
Planning board ex officio is John Scanlon and the alternate ex officio is Joe Jessamine.
Mr. Scanlon.
I'd like to do it again. Just- I started learning a lot about it and the process.
Interesting, huh?
I motion for John for planning ex officio.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of John Scanlon being ex officio on planning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, alternate ex officio is now Joe Jessamine.
And I'd be willing to do that one again because I think John only missed one, maybe. And I came to some of them, but I keep forgetting. But John's been pretty
You
consistent.
keep
so.
forgetting, but you want to be one?
Well, I've got a history in planning. And so that if John had to be gone for some reason, I know the way it works and the various regulations more or less. And so, because I've served a couple of years on that committee.
I nominate Joe Jessamine to be the alternate ex officio for the planning board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Everyone in favor of Joe Jessamine being the alternate to the planning board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Next committee.
Next committee is Parks Commission, ex officio is Eric Pyra, alternate ex officio is Pat Constantino.
I would like to do that again.
I make a motion to appoint Eric Pyra to be ex officio to the Parks Commission and Pat Constantino to be the alternate ex officio.
Ruggles, second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? So all those in favor of Eric Pyra being ex officio and Pat Constantino being alternate ex officio to Parks, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Okay, the next item is Tilton Trail Advisory Committee, ex officio Scott Ruggles, and the alternate ex officio is John Scanlon.
What is that one?
The Tilton Trail Advisory Committee.
I didn't remember.
Captain always used to do that.
There was no meetings, so that was the easiest
Oh,
ex
yeah.
officio job that I ever. In my first year, that was
It
fantastic.
will be done.
So, and John did a great job backing me up when
I was right there.
So whenever I could be there, John was right there for.
Covered.
That said, I would make a motion to appoint Scott Ruggles to be ex officio of the Trail Advisory Committee and John Scanlon to be alternate ex officio. Can't get it all up.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of Ruggles and Scanlon, ex officio and alternate for Tilton Trail, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, the next one is the Concord Regional Solid Waste RC membership. 2 members for a 3-year term, Joe Justman, and the alternate is Kevin Duvall.
So moved.
It only makes
Second.
perfectly good sense because I've done it for 11 years and I'm on the operating committee and I'm the secretary of the organization.
And you do a good job.
It's only 2 or 3 meetings a
Don't
year.
spread his head out that much.
I
Very
know trash when I see it.
I think it played, I mean, I think it played out well at town meeting. So
Yeah, well,
it's
gotta have somebody do it.
second.
Did you want to include Kevin Duvall in that, or is that a separate?
No, that's all.
All inclusive.
You read them both.
Yeah, Joe and Kevin.
I said so moved to both
Yeah.
of them.
Okay. And who seconded?
Ruggles.
Okay.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Excuse me. Please, all those in favor of Joe Jessamine being appointed to the Concord Regional Solid Waste and Kevin Duvall as his alternate, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Next is Energy Committee, 3-year term, 1 seat available. So we have Joe Justman is on until 2023, 1 seat's available, and right now John Scanlon is on it. And up.
Well, I don't think we've had a meeting all year long. But you never can tell when we might. Lord knows we should.
Especially with the new LEDs coming in.
Hmm,
So I would make the motion to appoint John Scanlon to the Green Committee, John Scanlon and Joe Jessamine.
Energy Committee.
Energy Committee. We changed it
You're
again.
already in.
You're in.
You're.
Oh, well, then never mind. Well,
Just
I will
Yeah.
change my motion all around here to name John Scanlon to the Energy Committee.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. If you're in favor of John Scanlon being named to the Energy Committee, say aye.
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 Any opposition?
Belknap County Economic Development, 1-year term. I have been serving on that committee.
So moved.
Second,
If you'll-
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
You need an alternate?
There's no-
Hearing no discussion, those in favor of Jeannie Forrester being named to Belknap County Economic Development Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. The next is Lakes Region Planning Commission, Leanne Moynihan and me, both of us are up.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor of Jeannie Forrester and Leanne Moynihan being named to the Lakes Region Planning Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Next is Lakes Region Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, and that is Leanne Moynihan and Kevin Duvall.
Make a motion to reappoint the both of them.
Read the committee again, please.
Lakes Region Transportation Technical Advisory Committee,
TAC.
TAC.
What is the one that Jane Alden is on? Oh, okay. RCC. I just answered my own question, thanks. It's a subsidiary of TAC, I think.
It's ride sharing and
Yeah.
and reimbursement programs. I served on that for years.
We had a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor of Kevin Duvall and Leanne Moynihan being on the Lakes Region Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, Mike Sitar, and the alternate is Eric Pyra.
I make a motion to appoint Eric Tyler to be our representative to the organization.
The alternate or the?
No, no slight to Chief Sitar, but he represents the fire district. And I believe that this position requires somebody to represent the town of Tilton.
Well, they had tried to split that up, but they had not been successful.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Oh, I was there for that.
Oh,
Right.
That's why I would rather see somebody from the town of Tilton represent us.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
No second.
I withdraw my motion.
I'll make a motion that Mike Sitar is our representative to the Lakes Region Mutual Aid. Right, mutual aid, right?
Yes. Ruggles, second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I think Mike has really done a fine job so far in separating his allegiance to the district and putting our needs to the town at hand and giving us an update when it's needed. He's had our best interest at hand. I think that there's no reason to believe that he would not continue to do so. And no disrespect to Eric at all, but he has many, many years of experience in fire, so hands down, vote for him.
I also think because Chief Sitar is a resident of Tilton too, I think that he probably takes that into account as well. And again, I also worry about our selectman, Mr. Pyra, getting stretched a little thin, with the number of other things that he is involved with community wise. So So it is not that he's not capable, but I think
Right.
there's.
I agree.
Anyone else? So all those in favor of Chief Sitar being the representative to Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
I'm just abstaining because
Because you're part of it.
I'm part of it. No, not
No,
that.
you're not.
So-
The motion didn't include you as alternate.
Just because
Well, he's part of the fire, he's saying.
I'm part of the fire district.
Yeah.
So do we need to nominate, I mean, we need to nominate an alternate. I make a motion to nominate Eric Pyra as the alternate to Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none?
Do you have the time to do that?
I haven't had to do anything with it because the Chief Sitar is the president of the organization, so he is at every meeting, so I never haven't had to, knock on wood, knock on glass, I haven't had to fulfill his seat or fill his seat. I'm like another committee, the Trail Advisory Committee.
I'm worried about the time on that one. Anyone else? Hearing no one. So all those in favor of Eric Pyra being the alternate to Lake Region Mutual Fire Aid, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And I'm still abstaining because.
So, and note that Selectman Pyra abstains because of his position in the fire district. Let the record show.
Okay. Senior Center Executive Committee, a 3-year term, Pat Constantino and Emily LaPlante.
Thought they were life members.
It shouldn't be there.
That's what I have.
Well, because it's a senior executive committee, but we vote for chair and vice chair. The senior executive committee does.
3-year appointed term.
But all of us are 3-year appointed term, the 5 of us. There's no ex officio.
And I'm not sure why she had it on there because it looks like your term expires in 2020.
Well, you have a list of terms expiration, but there's no ex officio to that because there's currently selectmen sitting on that board
Right, I didn't
as a member.
say anything about an ex officio. What did I miss? I didn't say.
Well, what would you appoint?
Well, I'm just reading it
You
here.
can't appoint a chair, it's voted on.
Well, it's not being appointed as a chair, it's being appointed as a member for a 3-year term, but as I look at the document, it looks like Jane, Sandy, and Iris are up, not you, and I think she reversed herself.
Right, there's 3 members that are up this year that 2 of them, I think, have filled out papers already.
And it's in the to be
Yeah.
signed, which I
So
find.
it's Jane Alden, Sandy Plesner,
And
Iris,
I was saying,
I didn't notice Jane's paperwork in there.
it's not in here, I don't think. I didn't see it either. They have them. What do you think?
Well, according to this document, it says that those 3 names are, their term expires in 2022.
So do you want to appoint members to the board? Is that?
Yes.
So that's like, well, no. So we have here in the to be signed folder, members of planning board, members of budget, not budget, that's
Are
for
they-
example, members of parks, whatever, that are filling out their application. We sign them as a board
Right.
to appoint. That's different than what we're doing now, right now. We don't, are you saying that we should be motioning to appoint members of committees.
Of this committee, that's,
Well, that's no different than a Parks Committee or Conservation Commission. We don't do that. I'm
so,
not misunderstanding what you're trying to ask, Jean.
if you're telling me that they don't need to be appointed,
Well, they do, but they have their
okay,
applications.
so they're gonna handle through the application process.
Right, they're already in the application to be signed. I think Eric's got the folder.
Okay.
And then they get sworn in. They'll come to either Gail or Kim before our next executive committee meeting, or if they don't, I'll swear them in at the next executive committee meeting.
All right, so we'll pass on that.
Okay.
Housing
I
standard.
could go either way, it doesn't matter.
We've never done it that way before.
No.
Housing standard board. Pat Constantino is on that board now as a selectman representative.
So moved.
Yeah, I'd like to stay on that one. I created it back in when it was. We don't meet once a year, that's it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of Pat Constantino being on the Housing Standards Board, say aye.
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 Opposed? And please note for the record that Selectman Constantino abstained.
Okay.
We're good?
Is there an alternate for that or no? Okay.
Tim got out of this easy. I think we should.
I think Tim.
He's awful quiet.
So.
I always thought it should be the town.
That's it. So I believe we're now back to the local emergency operations plan.
Yep.
Any more clarification needed on that from Jeannie? We're good? Okay. So I make a motion to accept the terms of the Emergency Management Performance Grant as presented in the amount of $4,000 to update Tilton's local emergency operations plan, LEOP. Furthermore, the board acknowledges that the total cost of this project will be $8,000, in which the town will be responsible for a 50% in-kind match of $4,000.
Second,
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
only that I would like it to be a matter of record. Where does our $4,000 come from?
Well, as I said, the state's giving the town $4,000, which will go to pay for this. The other $4,000 is an in-kind match from the town. So my time or anyone else who spends time working on this, much like the hazard mitigation plan that we're working on now, that the time we spend on that qualifies for that in-kind.
Anyone else? Motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, so I have the document here, and there are only 3 signature lines. And whoever decides that they want to sign this, if you just sign your name, I will fill out the name and title. But what you need to do is sign 3 signatures here, and then your initials here. And you can date it or not date it, and I'll do that. You don't have to. But every page and it has to be done exactly like they say it needs to be done, or else they'll send it back and we'll have delays. So,
Don't get you, Joe.
I was just about to say, I'm not sure Mr. Jessman should be on this one. So,
Well,
He admitted
the
it
chair and the
before.
Vice chair should do
Okay, so we will.
it.
and you can do it at the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we-
Yeah, I
may
want
need-
you to point.
We were, I was gonna say,
where
we may need,
to
yeah.
sign it.
we-
just some guidance.
Yeah, well, let's keep that over there, so we're just going to randomly sign it. So just like wherever, yeah. We'll need a tutorial on that one. I think I will too, so. So next is Tim Pearson, Finance and IT Director, with the 2022 budget update and the 2021 audit.
Great. Thank you. So in your packets, you should have my report along with a budget, and I'll go through just a few highlights of that. But first of all, in my report, in your to be signed folder is the State of New Hampshire's Department of Revenue Administration MS 232, which is a report of appropriations voted at town meeting. And so that report needs to be signed by the board, and it reflects the amendments made. It reflects the changes in money from which warrant articles were approved and not approved, and that's it. It does not include anything like encumbrances or any other things. It's just what was voted on at town meeting. So that is in your to be signed, and I appreciate a signature so I can get that updated to the state's portal. Do you have anyone have any questions on the 232? Okay. So then on to the budget. So the budget is attached, and I can go through some specific lines, but just a couple of notes. So we approved a $6,002,952 budget at town meeting. And when you look at this particular report and the reports that you'll see during the year, we net out the sewer commission because that is simply a pass-through for the operating budget. So you'll see the subtotal less the sewer. There was an encumbrance for the island. I'm sorry, got my L-chip grants mixed up. The encumbrance was for the island bridge, and so that should be completed this year, and that was for the balance of our match. And then that gives you a total of $5,497,682. The cruiser encumbrance, the sidewalk machine encumbrance were capital items, and those are budgeted outside the operating budget for payment. And then there was one other that I thought I had put in, one other encumbrance, which is not in this report, but I wasn't going to waste the paper to reprint it. So it'll be in your next one, but that is for the charrette, $6,000 in the land use. So the total that you'll see on a monthly basis will be based on $5,503,682. So just going through the budget, I'll just give you a couple of highlights, and I'll restore the timing of your meeting for you, saving you a little bit of time. So if you go to the second page, which is on the back of my report, it gives the summary of the town by department. And in most cases, we're very much on track as to where we typically are this time of year. And as you may recall, some of our expenditures are front-end loaded, and you'll see that through the administrative budget, primarily in insurances that we pay on an annual basis. And then in the finance department, our debt, we pay the majority of our debt early on in the year. I'll come back to the highway department, but in parks and recreation, the percent there is a little high, but that's due to payments that we had to make towards that L-chip grant for the island. And then in the public works department, there are two items that are high in terms of percentages, and one is overtime and the other is winter sand and salt. And the winter sand and salt budget is pretty much spent for the year, and which is with the knowledge and approval of the director, who is well aware of it and said that he has spent his budget for the year for that, and he's prepared through the end of the year. So hopefully, barring any unforeseen events, that will hold true. And as you know, he's very careful with his budget, and he watches it very closely. So I have no reason to doubt him. So otherwise, we're very much on target. The largest component in our budget, being the police budget, is slightly under budget right now, and And you're going to see that continue until we start filling those open positions. Other than that, I really don't have much to add to it at this point. I will be sending out at the end of the quarter. So for your April 7th meeting, you should have both quarterly revenues and then quarterly expenses. So this is as of today. So it's kind of a preliminary view. Does anyone have any questions?
These are all the updates, I'm sorry. These are all the updates for outside agencies and the,
Yep. The $10,272 voted at town meeting was added back in. If you look on the very last page, you'll see Community Action Program has a budget of $12,000 and Franklin Visiting Nurses $12,572. And that's also reflected in the MS 232. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Great, thank you.
appreciate it.
What they did
What,
in Croydon the other day?
Oh, boy.
yeah, I did. One last thing I did want to mention is, and I mentioned it before Selectman Scanlon was here at the start of the meeting, just that the confirmations for the audit will be out in the mail coming from the auditor in the next few weeks. So just be on the lookout for those. If you have any questions, give me a call. And there will also be a related party transaction document that be able to hand out at your next meeting. You can fill those out and return them either to me or to the auditor.
Is that mailed directly to our house?
The one set of documents is the other set is just handed out. Mhm.
I have one more question.
Yes.
The welfare process,
Yes, yeah, I gave you an update as to how we're doing welfare right now. So we had some issues in the past, and that we needed to get a better handle on. So I created a form that the welfare administrator is using, and she can submit vouchers for payment from any location. So she fills out the form, including the vendor, and there's a number of drop downs that she can pick from for accounts, which account to pay it from, whether it's the operating account or donations account, as well as what it's for, the place for the client ID and voucher number, which sometimes we had issues with legibility or if something happened to the vouchers. So it also gives her the ability, just from her phone, she can enter this all on her phone, using her phone to take a picture of the voucher and submit it through the form, as well as any supporting material. So in the one manifest this week, you'll see that there is a non-confidential voucher, and that was submitted through this process. And it also tracks the date time stamp, so that occasionally there'd be some questions about whether something came into town hall or it was received or it's being processed or paid. And this will help clarify that gate between the welfare processing and finance processing portion.
if the
Selectman.
welfare director does this with her phone, how does she make this confidential to you?
It only, there's no access to anyone other than the welfare director and myself.
But how does she redact? Oh, she has to redact it before she takes a picture.
That's correct. And if she doesn't, I can redact it at that point.
That was my question.
Mr. Jessman.
According to this blurb here, the reason that particular voucher was not confidential is that the client is deceased.
Correct.
How is it that we're paying welfare vouchers for dead people?
There are final expenses that the town is responsible for.
Say no more.
And these have been paid in the past.
I get it, sure.
When there is no other.
I've never seen it listed like that.
And just one last note, I'm going to be sequestering myself somewhat in April to continue and hopefully complete work on the permit management, and also hope I can schedule our auditor in by the end of April so that we can get all the field work done by then. So that remains to be seen, but April is pretty much going to be those two items for me. Okay, thank you.
You're gonna lock the door.
I'm gonna,
You know,
you're not gonna, I'm gonna save a lot of electricity in my office. Let me put it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Next are selectmen's reports. First up is Selectman Constantino.
Okay, I have a few items. First on the list, there was a non-resident that contacted me about the pothole at Walmart and why did the DPW, this is just so the public can hear it, DPW fix it and it comes out again. And one of the reasons is we don't have the asphalt plant open and they have to use coal patch. So it was fixed this afternoon. Everybody knows that infamous,
I noticed it's ad on the way here.
but it was fixed.
we're gonna name it.
Right. The other, I was approached by Deb Tessier. Everybody here knows who Deb Tessier is.
Nope.
She used to be,
Residents might not.
I used to be with Franklin Savings Bank for years and years and years, but she's with another bank now, but a good friend of Tilton. She approached me at the fire meeting on Monday evening and would like to a group of friends of Cheryl Page, who used to own Polly's for many, many, many years. I'd love to say the original owner, but original owner owned it for a couple of years and his name was named Polly after Polly Stevenson. Would love to have to plant a tree in Cheryl's honor somewhere in Tilton. Preferably downtown, but that's not a deal breaker. Somewhat, the tree could be any tree. She was kind of thinking of a Japanese maple, one of the feathery kind, dwarf kind. So she asked me to bring it to the board for discussion. So here I am. We've done it in the past. We have a tree for Vicky. I think at Riverfront, right?
Yes.
And then we have one for Mark Dawson at Salmon Run and Dennis at the highway.
Mr. Scanlon.
So I know conservation, not conservation, the Historical Society asked plant one for Ken Randall. And then we also have that one. And I think you folks are looking at just developing the downtown and all that, that maybe that could be coordinated through that so that it works along with it. You know, we took some trees down by the Soldiers Memorial. That would, you know, maybe something like that. That's my thought.
I think Mr. Jessman.
We have plenty of space down along the river. We have some empty spots right on Main Street. I'm not saying that that's necessarily where they would plan to go, but we do have the space and honoring people from the community who have contributed significantly to the community is a good thing.
Mr. Pyra.
I know on the Economic Development Committee, there was discussion about putting whiskey barrels along Main Street at some point. But maybe since you can kind of pinpoint where those are, it might be very appropriate to put the one in front of Polly's in her name, dedicated to her,
The whiskey barrel.
if we do them.
Oh.
Just a thought.
That'd be nice.
I think it's wonderful, and I do agree with Joe that I think recognizing citizens as we go from whether it's the past, some current, et cetera, is very important to do because it leaves that tradition. I also think, like, as John was saying, is I think there are spots around, and I would say absolutely, I would love to see this done for Cheryl. Let's, look toward what spots might be good, as we develop sort of what we're thinking with the island. Are those good spots, especially with the use that more common people seeing it? So I think it would be a wonderful thing to do.
So as we look into the preservation of the island, perhaps maybe the trees coming down.
Yeah.
Or the.
Yeah.
I can get back to her and just say we're kind of excited about it, but we need to continue talking about it.
Yeah.
Where?
I think determining those spots. And I think as just overall, if there are other people who come forward and would like to do certain things that, being able to do that, and, places like, whether it's the island, whether it's, the Civil War Memorial, that there's some really nice spots out there. And I would suggest that before we make final decision, that the folks who might be donating it, that we have a discussion with them just in terms of maybe what they're thinking or where they would like it highlighted as well, as long as it works with the planning that we have in terms of the town.
So perhaps maybe have them contact Jamie
Thanks.
and set something up.
Mr. Scanlon.
So it's sort of like what we did with the bricks. That, if somebody wanted to do that, then they could sponsor, a training or something like that with approval.
Mr. Jessman.
I would like to suggest that we send a correspondence to both the Parks Commission and the Conservation Commission.
Historical. Historical.
And
Historical.
Historical.
well, and the Historical
You're the
Society.
ones.
All those people who might have some input into the types of trees that would be best, or, if we're thinking about putting them in a park, the Park Commission certainly should be a part of that conversation. And the Historical Society, although not a function of the town specifically, has been one of the brightest community efforts that I've seen in all the time that I've been associated with this. A grassroots effort to help preserve history, and the everyday history in the town of Tilton. And I see their pictures posted, and somebody's done a lot of work on this, and I appreciate these individuals.
Pat, is that good?
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I didn't know, I kind of said I definitely would bring it to the board. I've known Cheryl over 30 years, and a lot of people didn't know that she never wanted to be recognized for a lot of things that she did do. There were people that were homeless that were sleeping over there that we didn't like sleeping over there, but she would often open her restaurant, make a lunch, walk it over there. And those are the types of things that she quietly did for our community. And, and she was outstanding like that. And never wanted people to know that she did those things. So, okay.
Right now.
Yeah, I told her if we did that, I would announce it, so.
And if Deb has questions, you and I can meet with her, because I taught Deb's two twin daughters.
There you go.
So
I promised her I would bring it to the board, so I did. And I'll get back to her, and then perhaps maybe link you up.
sure.
Jean. Also, at the town voting, I had the opportunity to talk with Deb. And she has no idea I'm bringing this up, and perhaps maybe Joe can help fill me in on this too, but I was very disturbed to hear that Old Home Day had strict criteria and very added on extra expenses to Old Home Day in June. They're not having the highway department help them with anything. So that is a great disservice to the Old Home Day. We work as a community together with them. I don't know if we can help out in any way, but we're two towns working together on that day. There are no lines, there are no boundaries on that day. And they're charged an exorbitant amount of money for cleanup that was unexpected. And it's just, I think Joe has volunteered on that committee for years and years and years. And just going forward, Joe, I think that we need to communicate better with them to see what's going on, because we really want Old Home Day to happen this year. And if these are all these added expenses to happen for them, we need to make sure that if we have to do a fundraiser, we have to do a fundraiser for them, because we really need to make Old Home Day happen. And if the town of Northfield is adding all these expenses to an empty field with stumps in it, I don't want to say shame on them, but we need to work together. We need to try to work together, and maybe we can reach out as a board to see, if we can help in any way.
Mr. Jessamine.
I am a member of that committee. The town of Northfield, and have been for at least 10 years. Town of Northfield, in my experience, has been the only one helping, with the exception of 1 year, that members of the Public Works Department from Tilton went over and helped. The Public Works Department in Northfield was always right there with the setup and with the breakdown and the cleanup, and they provided all the guys. They provided the building space over there in the town garage for the setup and whatever, and they've been providing the storage space for the trailer. That was a kind donation, that we store all the grills and, the pop-up tents and coolers and what have you, refrigeration units. And Northfield has shouldered that for years and years without participation from Tilton. They've decided that they want to be reimbursed because it costs some money. And I haven't been involved in the conversations about that. Next to Old Home Day meeting, and I don't have the information right in front of me, but I will bring this up. But if we're not going to help provide the cleanup and the setup and the storage space and whatever, quite frankly, it only seems fair that we provide something, toward that end. Because they've done it for quite some time, a decade anyway. So I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but what kind of direction would you like to go in going forward? We just pay it, we do a fundraiser? I mean, how do you want to proceed?
I think it depends on the cost.
I think it's $450 for the rental. I do believe.
Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, I think it's right that we coordinate a little bit better and offer some of our services to do so and to do that work. I also keep in mind that we do other events, the town of Tilton, that we always invite Northfield to, and all the residents to take part in, which we have to pay them for, even though we're paying for the fireworks and all that for Christmas and Santa and food and all that. So I think we need to mend that bridge and just participate 50-50 on it. Because we need to join hands on a lot of these public events, because they are for the citizens of both towns.
Couldn't agree more.
Pat, was this with Deb Shepherd, was this the situation with the deposits that have to be put down on the facilities too? Or was this,
Mhm.
yeah, okay,
That was an addition.
okay.
That's another one. I didn't bring that example up
Yeah,
because I
okay.
didn't know too much about it.
Mhm.
But go ahead.
Mr. Pyro?
Well, I'll just raise my hand up. If you keep going, if you got
No,
one.
no.
Maybe we can invite a representative from the Old Home Day Committee to come before us and discuss what they need, so that we're not just speculating that saying, oh, we can send 3 highway guys over there on Saturday or on Friday to help set up, but find out exactly what they need sooner than later so that it can be planned for, because I know the highway department does a lot to get like Riverfront Park beforehand to look beautiful. And, you know, if he does that on Friday and now all of a sudden we're committing his crew to go help in Northfield,
Mhm.
which I have a little bit of an issue, but I just wonder, we'll just get it straight from the horse's mouth, what they need, and then we can plan better.
I agree. I think finding out exactly what their expenditures are, I think that would help us sort of see it and see what we can do.
Or we need to do a pancake breakfast every Saturday from now until the end of June. I don't know.
I can transmit this information to Jennifer Weissensee, who is the head of the committee, and Deb Shepherd, who is the finance IT person. Well, not IT, but finance. And tell them this. And ultimately, it's a decision by the town of Northfield. So somebody's got to talk to Northfield.
My goal is simply to get communications rolling. And we need to start talking about it because we don't want it to hinder it in any way. We've been too long without it.
Good.
And I have one other thing which is not so pleasant. On February 17th, and let me start out by saying this in no way reflects the decision that was made. I fully support the decision. And however, there was a ballot vote by the Board of Selectmen, and I apologize to one of our selectmen. They have no idea what I'm going to say. But it is my understanding in the ballot vote that one of our selectmen got a different ballot than the rest of us. I find that unconscionable. I don't think that that's right. I don't think that that is the proper way to do things. I think, I don't know whose decision it was. I'd like to know whose decision it was to do that. Whether or not it involved anybody on board, we should have been transparent about it. Everybody should have gotten the same ballot. But I'd like to know, I'd like to have that answer.
I'm not entirely sure as I know what
You
you're
weren't
talking
here.
about.
We took a ballot vote on a community award, and one of our people on this board got a different vote than the three others. And I'd like to know why. I'd like to know who made the decision, not why.
I made the decision,
Okay.
and I'd be happy to explain it, but I don't know that you want it explained in front of the one selectman or not. I'm happy to explain it.
No, I don't think it's necessary. Unless you want to, I don't care. It doesn't.
Well, you obviously care because
It
you think
bothers
was
me.
wrong.
It bothers me because it's only 18 minutes after an ethics policy review in the same tape. And it bothers me that we did this and we disenfranchised a member of our board into making a decision. And I just, if that had happened to me, I'm upset about it. And if that had happened to me, I would be very, very upset about it.
And I would tell you, I would disagree with that. Sometimes there are very awkward situations and I have to figure out how to deal with it. And I made that decision. I absolutely do not believe that was in any way, shape or form, an unethical decision. It was trying to, this was supposed to be a surprise, supposed to be confidential. I don't know how you challenge me with doing that and then doing a ballot vote. So I made that decision. It was nobody that directed me to do it. And I don't think I did anything wrong.
We have done this in the past on annual awards. We've done it on cover, annual cover dedications. And we've done it very nicely if it's included a member of the board. And we haven't had to do it in a ballot where someone else has gotten a different ballot. It's been a written back and forth. And we've been able to manage through it if that person happened to be one of them.
Well, somebody from this board asked for a ballot vote, asked me to do that. And that's what I did. And I'm happy to more fully explain this if you want to do that. But it means,
No, I've said what I wanted to say. I'm good.
well, I would ask the board, and I want to know right now, do you think I did something wrong?
I think I know what the ballot vote was concerning, and I agree with your decision. I understand Pat's point, but in this particular case, I agree with your decision.
I
They're all
agree.
going to agree with you.
I agree with the decision well, but I also think it bodes the question in the future, should sitting select board members be up for those awards? So I think that's a question that we don't need to answer now, but it's just one to consider. That should, and that is not taking acknowledgement away from the select board member, but when they're not on the select board, can they then come up again because they're deserving of it? So
They shouldn't be punished for it.
it's not a punishment. It's not,
If they're sitting a selectman, they are.
but then keeping the anonymity would be the difficult part.
We've done it in the past for a lot of years.
So then we'd have to, if it happens again, then we'll have to just think about the process. What process do we have to do now to make sure that, so the point that you bring up being valid, and then the way that Jeannie tried to handle it to keep the anonymity being valid as well.
I totally understand why. That's why I said, I totally understand the reason why. I get that. I have absolutely no trouble with that. I really have trouble with the process. And that's the problem that I have, particularly on the back of us going through all the problems with the ethics. But we have other ways that we have done it in the past, and it's worked just fine. We've gotten through it, and it's worked just fine. There have been other people sitting on the board that have gotten awards and dedications and whatever. Joe being one, sitting right here.
Yeah, but we've always snuck behind their back, so they didn't know and they were unaware.
We passed the paper right along and gotten it. So it's done. And I just wanted to mention it. End of discussion for me, anyway. You can still talk about it if you'd like.
Good.
I have something to say and I don't know how to say it.
The only, go ahead.
No, I don't know how to say it. Because I don't want to reveal anything, but and it's a memory,
Touchy.
it's a memory thing, and I don't know if I don't know how to say it, so I may come back to it before the end of the meeting, but I don't know how to say it without. Yeah.
I have just one last thing if Eric's finished.
Yeah.
The senior center is having electrical work. Josh Carter's doing the electrical work for a new freezer. The Wednesday night music group bought the senior center a upright freezer, and that's going to be a welcome asset too. It's going to be installed in the hallway by the office. So they're putting in new electrical for that tomorrow. That's it.
Thank you, Selectman Constantino. I'm up next. The first piece that I'd like to bring to the board is seeking board approval to allow the Tilton Historical Society to be able to move the archived pieces that are right over here to our right in the case. Because as we've talked about before, we know that this room is going to be moved around. We're going to do some work in here, et cetera. But to allow them to take them, become the protectors of them. And they also have talked, and when I was talking with John Cirillo last week, because he was up at the school cataloging some things, they would love to be able to scan them and digitize them for us, but be the ones to hold them safe for us and be able to have them accessible if we want them, but just be able to come and get the things that are here upstairs. Selectman Constantino.
I can't remember, and I think that perhaps maybe Catherine Dawson would help out. My memory is not serving me at this moment on this. Some things came from the Grange, and some of the things that came from the Grange, it was a split between Joanne Oliver. Is that her first name, Joanne? Johanna Oliver. In some, all of it came here. I don't know how much belongs to her as opposed to how much in that case is ours.
Okay.
And I think that Catherine Dawson would know that. And so we need to be cognizant of the fact that if there is any there in there that is Joanne Oliver's, we need to probably catalog it.
Okay.
And identify it as hers. We did ask her to come and get what was hers, but I'm not really sure if in fact she did or not, and that would be answered by Catherine.
Okay. Mr. Scanlon.
Yeah, I think I'm good with it. I think that we need to catalog all the property, photograph it, and have some type of agreement that, you know, it's property of the town of Tilton and on display and on loan to the Tilton Historical Society. And, you know, I guess same way artwork goes to other countries, museums or whatever. But I think that would be a great venue for it and be appreciated by more people.
Anyone else? Do we need to do a motion on it, or do we just have to agree?
Just consensus.
Okay, just consensus. So we have consensus on that. I think in just a quick note, I think in talking with John, as you guys all know, that they will be very excited to be able to catalog it for us, put in good hands, and they may be able to find out even more about the history of it.
Did they actually get the place up at
So it will.
Tilton School?
So yes, is it available right now? No, because we're doing the school is doing interior renovations, but that is going to include a space for the Tilton Historical Society, an official home for them, a place where there will be safe storage of articles like these, the ones that may be, you know, donated to them, on loan to them, et cetera. So right now, John and a few members of the Tilton Historical Society are actually doing some cataloging and some cleaning up of some of the archives at Tilton School right now, which are extensive. So, but they were, when I talked with John, and I think when Jeannie talked with him, he's very excited about being able to take this and have it, just to be able to preserve it and make sure that it was there. And eventually the idea for that space up there is to be able to have display space, to be able to have themed displays so that the public can come see them. The public can come into the mansion and be able to see those things in the mansion. And that is both from the school and from the Historical Society, what we'd like to do, because we feel that the connection for all and getting more and more of a connection for the town to be able to see that building and be there, and now having a space that would be very much user friendly in terms of not just Tilton School, but the public as well.
Now, is that where they're going to hold their meetings? Are they able to hold meetings there as well?
I believe when the space is finalized, that's the plan, is to hold the Tilton Historical Society meetings there as well. So
Were you instrumental in that happening?
I might have been.
Oh,
I might have helped
A
behind
little
the
bit.
scenes. So,
Kudos to you.
so, well, yes, to be very candid, and I don't want to belabor this because we do have to move on. When we were talking about the repurposing of that space from library to a space that would be more useful, one of my suggestions to our head of school is that really creating a greater link with the community, and being able to have that space because it's such a celebrated building and it's a town masterpiece. To be able to do something with the Historical Society and that tie-in was one of the things I felt would be very, very fruitful overall.
Yeah.
So
Nice job.
Mr. Scanlon.
So after the inventory, I think we need to keep a chain of possession of it.
Mhm.
So if it goes from town hall to somebody's house, that they need to sign that they have it and that I fully trust these guys. But as a policy for anything, because over the years, that's what happens.
So would the case go with it or just
I don't think.
that's very fragile.
No,
What did you say?
yeah,
I don't think that case has value.
No, it doesn't have any value at all, and I think it's extremely fragile.
yeah. And the extent of what is going to be done up there, I don't think there will be a need for that case because I think there will be plenty of display space and well-lit and modern display pieces that will be up there.
So that begs the question, if you're gonna do renovations up here, do you have a plan to where that's gonna go?
The case, I think it's gonna be gone.
You're just gonna,
There is no place for it up here. Actually, if you read I made you your copy, but in the Tilton Town Hall assessment, they're actually saying that the capacity up here for people has been reduced because this and that. When we're done, I think there'll probably end up being 30 chairs in here besides the selectmen. With the weight of these file cabinets.
We could have Joe Lyon state in that. If we wanted to.
Yeah, it's coming any day now.
So let me go through quickly through the other things. On a personal side note, I, as an educator, went over and met with Lieutenant Gilman and Officer Ort, trying to design and look at some education pieces that we might be able to bring to Tilton School and some local high schools. And I just wanted to give them great thanks because it was a wonderful meeting with them about, looking at how can we, how might we be able to sort of stir a little bit of interest in law enforcement, futures in law enforcement and things like that in the future at both Tilton School, local area high schools, et cetera. So I just wanted to thank Lieutenant Gilman and Officer Orr for hosting me over there and having a really, really fruitful discussion that hopefully will yield something in the next couple of years.
nice.
Personal, but also community side note is that as we now have a little bit more daylight, hopefully we continue to have nice weather, is just safety on the roads with bicyclists, motorcyclists. I've seen a lot more young children out the last few nights when it's a little bit warmer. So just everyone in the community keeping their eyes open for those folks and everyone that's out there. And then announcements, as the chair announcements now, first time with this. Winter parking ban is still in effect until April 15th. On March 1st, our roads were posted with a load restriction maximum weight limit of 6 tons during spring thaw per RSA 231-190-191 and continuing until the roads once again become solid. Which means contractors, construction companies, parcel service, fuel services, and solid waste haulers are asked to observe the posting by staying off soft road shoulders and reduce load weights. Special permission may be given depending on weather conditions and time of day. For questions, please call our DPW Director, Kevin Duvall, at 603-286-4721. And that's it from me.
There's behind.
Oh.
There's one in the highlighted.
So also the spring cleanup dates have been established. April 20th, 21st, and 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Saturday, April 23rd from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, spring cleanup dates, April 20th, 21st, 22nd, 9 a.m. to 3:30, and Saturday, April 23rd from 8:30 to 4 at the Public Works Department.
Is that Amnesty Days?
The-
Or is it?
Amnesty Days, yes. Good. Mr. Jessamine,
First off, I would like to thank everybody for their continued support upon my reelection. Thank you very much. And the only selectman type business I have is that we had a meeting of the regional co-op and the contract that was given out by the incinerator for accepting our trash was approved. So that'll be coming up for signature at our next meeting. I've always had authorization to sign for the Board of Selectmen. And without objection, I would continue to do so in my role as the co-op representative. Okay, and lastly, in conjunction with Scott Ruggles' statement about be careful bicycles and motorcycles, there's still a lot of sand on the roads, on corners and whatnot. And I was just curious as to whether you were aware of the date that we might be doing street sweeping.
Kevin hasn't shared that with me yet, but I can certainly follow up with him.
And we're probably 1 or 2 storms out from the end of winter, in all likelihood. Just thought I'd plant the seed.
Much to Selectman Ruggles' chagrin.
thanks, Selectman Jessamine.
Anybody on 2 wheels?
It's Mr. Pearson.
I just have one question for Selectman Jessamine. So the contract, how many years? Our last one was 7 years. What is the?
6 years.
6.
All set, Selectman Jessamine?
I'm sure you'll be receiving confirmation once the contracts are signed.
All good, Joe?
I'm good, yeah, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Pyra?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wait, said that. I was contacted by a Samberton resident today about opening a business in Tilton at the other end of Laconia Road, and I forwarded her email to Leanne. So, but I got to thank you from that person for guiding her in the right direction of where to go. So good luck to her, as she's could be a little interesting place. I also like to thank everyone for coming out to vote last week. Meeting with the people was always, I don't want to say fun, but nice to talk to people in a little different setting at the polls and at town meeting on Saturday. And then on my fire district hat, we had our district meeting on Monday, and there was a lot of discussion about the water topic. And that lasted an hour and 45 minutes, and then the remainder of the amendments, warrants, articles went through in 45 minutes or a half hour. So it was long and tedious, but it's not over yet. The meeting's over, but there's still many things to overcome from that. And then I just want to say thank you to everyone for my year as chair. Everyone for helping me and supporting me for the most part. And I learned a lot for that year. And I'm just going to go back to the topic that we discussed earlier. Thank you, Jeannie, for saying it was you, but you had sent me an email with what your intention was. And I had no problem with it. I didn't think I needed to check with anyone else. I thought it was a good idea to kind of overcome a little bit of a hurdle. So so while you took the blame, it was partially my blame because I had no problem with it. So thank you for that, but it was, I was going back looking for the email because there was an email I read about it, and it was in our communication when you give me the notes to review before the meeting. So, and I apologize if anyone was offended by that, but if I had to do it again, I would do it the same way. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Pyra. Mr. Scanlon?
So 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, I don't know if anybody heard about it, but down in Merrimack, a young man went into Polo store, started gathering merchandise, and threatened to kill the clerks, shoot the clerks with the gun that he brandished that was in his waist. He left from there. It was not long after, a couple hours later, that Tilton Police received a call that there was somebody suspicious and acting as if they were going to steal things, and that 2 of our police officers arrived on the scene, sort of parking around the corner, and in a nonchalant way, kind of did what they do and apprehended this person and verified that he was the same one that was in an armed robbery in Merrimack. And the professionalism of the Tilton Police Department, their ability to use, act appropriately and safely in protecting the people who worked in that store, the general public, and apprehending this person very easily could have done some harm to them as well as the public. And I think we're very fortunate to have such fine police officers that are have such good judgment. And maybe we need to think about some stuff like that maybe in the future. The other thing is somebody brought and showed me a piece of water pipe that had been cut out that had burst on Morrison Ave. And I was going to bring it in, but I was running from work. It's a water pipe about this big around in the middle. It's this big, it's all crusted. It's like a hardened, corroded artery. And they've been having, I think there was like 4 bursted areas if you've been up it. So I don't know if we have Morrison Ave. We were going to put it off until after the Honda was done, in case they had to do digging. I didn't know if that's on the plan, because I didn't seem like it was.
What you mean for asphalting?
Yeah,
I didn't see that on the plan at all.
yeah, we talked about it 2 years ago. And got bumped off a couple times.
Right, it was put off.
And the idea is
that part, but it's not on for this year's plan.
Like if they're going to do it, to make sure the water department knows, because we are having water problems up there, flooding. There was one in the basement flooded because a pipe burst. And
Did they just Band-Aid it?
there's about 8 places where they dug up and Band-Aided it, waiting for when we're going to do the road. So anyway, I'll show you the pipe sometime, or send a picture of it. I was shocked. But that's it for me, thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Selectman Constantino?
I have one question. Did anyone, or better, is anyone, or how should we respond to the email that we got by a resident in town? How should we respond to that? If anyone has responded to it, Jeannie, did you respond to it?
The letter that y'all got,
Oh, did you not get it? I didn't,
well, there was
The letter or email?
There's a non-public coming up. We should discuss this in the non-public.
why is this a non-public?
It's an employee thing, isn't it?
I don't know. Are you-
I'm going to forward to you right now.
I don't know if I received it.
I got a letter.
I didn't.
Yeah, I got a letter.
I got that.
No, this is not that.
I didn't receive a
This is-
email from a citizen.
It's about trash. and continuing trash. He wasn't at the town meeting, but there was some,
Oh, yeah, I think.
oh, you know what? I never look at who got the letter. I'm sorry. It's just addressed to Selectman Pyra and myself, and I apologize. Let me just forward it to everybody. I totally apologize to that because I usually forward it to the board when I see things like this. It's from, Jeannie, did you get it?
Yeah, I have it.
Do you think that's not public?
No,
So Joe, Scott,
yeah, you were all,
John. Okay, now you get it. We should have it now. And I think perhaps maybe we could address this so that he at least knows, or someone get back in touch with him.
it is under my report discussion.
His particularly,
No,
his, okay.
I think it's someone that's a little confused too.
Well, either way, we need to reach out and contact him back, and then really, I mean, it's more appropriate that Joe, in my opinion anyway, because
I'm
it's talking
happy
about
to-
the trash and whatever, how it worked out, but
Are we all okay with Selectman Jessman reaching back out to the citizens?
I'll talk to him.
I have no problem with that at all.
And he's in thinking that we're canceling trash and curb service. We're not canceling trash and curb
No,
service.
no.
Although I did make an offhand statement about Meredith doesn't have any pickup and we could save $500,000. But nobody that I could see was in favor of that, nor am I.
Remember,
Well, apparently we have one, but that's one.
remember, there's a lot of selective hearing out there, Mr. Jessman.
Before anything, and I can, and this was an advisory warrant article,
Mhm.
as was stated in the town report. We weren't hiding the fact that we were trying to get input from residents. This here is input, and I'm more than glad to listen to whatever he's got to
Yeah.
say. And then I'll bring it back, and that can be part of our trash discussion when that comes up.
Perfect.
Again, I apologize because I usually look to see who it goes to, and I didn't see anybody reply to it.
Mhm.
And I'm,
Oh, no.
you
good.
know, again, I should have just forwarded it to the board so everybody could see it. Usually do.
Awesome. Are we all set?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
Joe's gonna take care of it.
Excellent. Town administrators report.
You should have all gotten my report under the action items. The first item we've already taken care of, but I will get you to sign it, the document, later. You can focus on it. Second item was a follow-up to town meeting. The Affinity LED lighting agreement is ready for you to be signed.
That in our sign folder, I didn't see it.
No, because I have it here.
Okay.
I didn't notice that one either.
Protecting it from us.
So I wanted to explain when they put the agreement together, there's only one signature, the yellow, for the chair. And then I added the signatures in the back.
On the same page.
No, it's an attachment.
I make a motion that the chair sign the LEDs.
Second.
Motion and second discussion.
It's just the same agreement that we got before.
Yes.
Okay.
No changes.
Anyone else? No other discussion. Motion on the floor is to have the chair sign. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
It says you could pay on your personal checkbook.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to fight my kids for it, so.
I think there's one for signature and if there's to write your name, I can do that. Just sign it.
I can write my name if you're okay with that. I just
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
I'm just trying to move it along. Tim
I'm going.
Tim added some time.
You wanna try all that, Pen?
Again,
Subtract.
Okay.
Subtract.
All right, the next item, Franklin Savings Bank they're now accepting applications for their, what they call their Fund for Community Advancement, and their awards up to $10,000. I'd like permission to apply for the grant. I'm not sure what will qualify until I have a conversation with the folks over there, but just wanted their permission to go ahead and move forward and investigate what we might get a grant for.
So you really have a clue, or you have some ideas?
I do.
Okay.
But I want to talk to them to find out what is.
What qualifies.
Not.
Do you need consensus or just?
So how, wait,
There's, everyone needs to sign on that.
What's that one?
That's, everyone needs to sign. Then if you, we'll get it back to you. Attach this.
you'll just bring back the ideas once you know that they're qualified, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Question, just a question on, as we go through with grants and grant applications. I wonder if we always need Jeannie to come to us, or if we can sort of allow her, knowing that she is making decisions, obviously for the betterment of Tilton, allow her to go through the grant process and put the grants out there and then update us on what is going on with grants and grant applications. Just thinking about streamlining the process.
And so, thank you for that. So to be clear, I would not write a grant for anything without talking to the board about it. But as I find grant opportunities, what is happening now is before I can even have a discussion, I need to ask the board if I can have the discussion. So.
So this would just be, so that would be, what I'm talking about is allowing her to apply for the grants and then, correct, yeah, to be able to streamline that. Knowing them many times that they're time sensitive.
I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm fine with it.
I'm a solid yes.
Yes.
Mr. Pryor said yes.
As long as we come to the board with it, with what you're doing, then I'm fine with it. I really don't want to relinquish the control over what I do as a selectman.
No,
Well,
that's
accepting these things is our responsibility,
correct.
not necessarily seeking them out.
I
But
think so.
whatever she does, we would have to accept it. Is that correct? Yeah.
Mr. Scanlon?
So the only other thing would be is if there's something where we had to provide matching funds, if you apply for it, then you get it.
No,
So
yeah,
if you
so
can explain how that
yeah,
works.
so that's not what,
That was
I
my
don't think
concern.
that's what you meant.
No, no.
What I'm saying is, okay, so I read about a grant in the newspaper and I'm like, oh, this would be really good. But that doesn't mean that I am going to write an application or apply for a grant
Okay.
before I come to the board.
Also, to further research without us
Right.
having to
So-
ask
so
us to
that-
research.
Right, because
then
that's
ask us again.
what's happening now, so that I could, right now, before I call Franklin Savings Bank and come to the board and say, can I call Franklin Savings Bank?
Okay, I misunderstood.
I wasn't
Definitely.
clear with it, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
get it.
misunderstood what Scott was kind of saying on that one. Okay. I'm okay with that.
There's too much Jordan's ice cream. Stop that.
That makes sense.
Okay,
So, all right, thank you.
Yeah,
So
we're
the next item, you've looked at and signed off on the Economic Development Committee application, so that's done. Tuscan Hill Properties, I see you signed off on that, so that one is complete.
Jeannie, that hasn't changed in the years, has it, at all?
No, if anything, the relationship has improved with Tuscan Hill because our DPW director has worked very hard to make sure that that space is kept clean.
Great news. Okay.
So the next item,
Selectman Jessman.
How many spaces are provided under that agreement? Do you know right off?
yes, I do.
That's-
This is one of the things I have to tell you that I do every time I get ready for meetings, to try to anticipate what somebody's gonna ask.
You know who's.
The 3 years that I've been here, nobody's asked me that, and I thought today, somebody's gonna ask me that.
I never knew. I just.
How many?
82. And I have the file if you want to see the picture.
No, I was involved in negotiations at one time. And 82 parking spaces, I can't imagine what we would do without those 82 parking. So there you go.
Okay, it's like a test for me.
Pass.
The RFP for the automated trash collection, Tim and I talked about that, and we'd like to reissue the RFP for end of March, early April, with the June 1st deadline for the organizations or companies to respond.
Selectman Constantino.
I have one question. The RFP that we sent out, are we going to get questioned about sending an RFP out and then not doing anything about it and then sending an RFP out again?
No,
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Selectman Jessman, you had something?
You're sending this RFP to everybody, right?
Yep.
And the terms that we're looking for in this RFP,
Tim, I think it's a 5 years, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
so
5-year term, the solid waste.
solid waste only. But we haven't voted to discontinue curbside recycling. I would love to, well, that's a hard one, isn't it? I don't want to mislead the trash hauling companies, but we have yet to make an actual decision as to whether we're going to continue curbside recycling or not.
Well, when we issued it before, I think we issued to 3 or 4. We got 2 responses. One company bid on trash, solid waste, and recycling, and the other one didn't. Correct.
That's right.
So
I recall.
we can include it.
They might all think that they have to provide for curbside recycling, which is not necessarily true.
Well,
I think we,
pardon me, one of the things that I think the board might have to consider before sending this out is if you are going to do away with the recycling, curbside recycling, that the costs, that if you break down how the haulers look at the costs, it's in the bin tip. So when they pick up a bin, whether it's empty or full, it costs a certain amount of money to pick up that one bin. And, like I said, no matter what's inside it. So if you allow all your existing recycling and solid waste bins to be full, theoretically, and picked up, that would be the maximum cost, I would think, for the hauler. The question would be, are you going to have any sort of limits as to what you could put out on the street for solid waste?
Mr. Scanlon.
So presently, we tip 1.5 bins per week because the recycling is every other week. So we'd either have to go to 1 or go to 2, which would be, and that would be 2 bin tips, which would be significantly more. So we have A bit of a quandary here.
That, and we own the green cans, right? So they're bigger than the black ones we have now. I believe our ordinance says 5 bags weighing 30 pounds. 30 pounds? There's very specific language in there. That won't even half fill a green can. So there would have to be some kind of we're gonna have to revisit what it means for them to pull away the trash. So there's a lot of things to be decided. And the first of which, I guess, is sending out this RFP. Again,
But do we know what it's going to be for? Is it going to be for 1 can? Or if we give it recycling, is it 2 cans? Are we going to?
we just do the one big can. We have our own cans now.
I think mine are the same size.
The contract, the green ones are bigger. At least the ones I've got. I've got what, 96 gallons
Are
or
they?
something.
Yeah. Mine is.
So if they just get to dump the one green can, fact is that we don't need cans from the garbage company. They don't have to disseminate them. They don't have to pick them up, nothing else. So that's got to influence that contract somewhat. They don't have to spring for $25,000 worth of cans or whatever the price might be. I don't know.
What are we going to do with all those cans?
Anybody here in favor of quitting on curbside recycling?
Oh, yes, but we can still bring it to the highway department, right?
Quitting, yeah, well, there would have to be that kind of a component to it too. People would be allowed, and it wouldn't be a matter of purple bags at that point. I don't believe it would be a matter of we need to provide a place for people to dispose of their trash so it doesn't end up on the sides of the road and what have you.
If we say yes to this curbside recycling, they're just going to put it in the trash.
That's correct.
They're not gonna go to the,
They're not putting it in the trash now. If we're still doing curbside recycling, I think people like curbside recycling. I like curbside recycling. It doesn't make good economic sense.
but if we do away with that, they're not gonna do that. They're just gonna put it right in the trash and they're not gonna go to the highway department
Well,
to do it.
some will, but at that meeting, any number of people came up and said, well, we're still gonna be able to recycle our garbage at the town garage, right?
Yes,
I said, well, that would be my preference.
but that was less than maybe 1% of the town's population
True
at
enough,
town meeting.
true enough. And it was just advisory.
Right, agreed. So if you look at that from that perspective, then, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of people that won't go to the town garage to recycle.
That's
So it
correct.
means it's all gonna end up in the,
Recycling will go down. It will. But we're paying an ungodly amount of money for the right to bring stuff out to the garbage. We could pay up to $100 a ton to get rid of recyclables and pay the increased shipping fees, because that's part of our contract as well. When we first started this, there was a financial component to it where we weren't paying for that tonnage. Now it's upwards of $100 a ton.
Right.
And our numbers for recycling, Mr. Pearson, have remained remarkably good. 330 tons was the 330 tons of paper and plastic is a lot of garbage. True enough.
And glass.
And glass weighs more than any of it.
I just wanted to point out, you made the comment about the amount of solid waste, amount of bags you can put out in the bins. I think we revised that in 2017, an ordinance, a trash ordinance in 17, when we did away with the paper bag. So it's what fits in the bin.
Okay, now that you
Is
say
there
that,
an ordinance?
well, if we get a bigger bin, I got a 96, but there are various sizes out there.
Well, it would be what they have for a bin now, right? Or no?
Green bin, yeah. But as I imagine the Casella is either gonna wanna pick up all those bins that they own, or they're gonna wanna sell them
They
to
don't own them anymore.
We own,
It's Pinard.
Pinard. I take it back.
But
If
does
Pinard's
Pinard
gonna
own
want
them, or
their
do we
bins
own
back.
Bernard owns the black bins.
Uh-huh.
Right,
The trash bins.
we own the green ones.
recycling.
right. We own the green ones.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm guessing Pinard's gonna want their bins back, or they're gonna wanna try to sell them to us, same way as Casella did with the green one.
But if we do away with, my understanding is, if we do away with the curbside recycling, we're still gonna do curbside trash pickup.
Correct.
So the black ones would still be in play.
if you
Correct.
accept Casella.
Correct, except if we went
Pinard.
with Casella.
If we stay with Pinard.
Oh, okay, if you're, I get what you're saying.
We're
You
sending
say
this out to 4 or 5.
if you
different
switch
companies.
companies,
Yeah.
you'd have to switch the bins. I get that. We've done that, I don't know how many
And
times.
there has been some bin switching and
Right,
bins issued and what have,
right.
just a point, not necessarily.
The bins we purchased, we got for about 28 cents on the dollar
Mhm.
in our negotiations with our former vendor.
Because they didn't want to pick them up and store them. And Pinard could do the same thing. We might have a plethora of bins.
Well, then why would, if that were the case, why would we want to go to a bigger, get new ones and go to a bigger size?
I'm not saying
Okay,
no.
okay.
No. You use your green bin. If you've got a 96 gallon bin, ta-da. If you've got a 45 gallon bin, that might be a thing. I don't know.
Can we recycle the bin?
All right, so this is just about going out to bid, correct? Okay. I say yes.
Yes,
Yep.
Yes.
I don't think we're ready. We don't know how many bins we're going to be offering to pick up. Is there an answer to that? That what the RFP is what they're going to be bidding on. So we don't end up with a bunch of RFPs like we did before that don't give us any information.
it would still be the one bin. We're just doing away with the recycled component.
So
one-
the RFP would be for one bin,
One bin.
once a week, curbside pickup.
That's what I would think. Providing, of course, that we're all in favor of doing away with the curbside recycling.
4.
All right, 4 out of
And-
5.
And we supply the bin.
And we have the green bins now, so.
So one bin, once a week, we supply the bin.
Yeah,
Okay.
just quickly on the curbside recycling, when this came up, I decided I can be a hopeless researcher at times. My, not only is it the financial piece that Joe has clarified for us, but when you look at it very honestly, from what I'm discerning from a number of studies, is that we're probably sending 75% of our recycling is tainted. And single stream recycling is on facade is a great idea, but I'll be honest, I think it's a sales pitch these days because 75% of it will end up exactly where the garbage ends up. Because if you put a pizza box with the bottom circle into, then everything's tainted. Broken glass, everything's tainted. So, the studies that I've seen, you're looking at somewhere in the 70% range of that stuff ends up the same place, whether it's incinerator or in a dump, that the garbage ends up anyways. And so, if single stream recycling was far better than that, I would probably be on the other side of this boat. But it's not really, it's not efficient recycling.
We can sell cardboard,
Yeah, no, I know.
newsprint, certain plastics. We can sell all of these items.
But to Pat's point, it'll be now figuring out how we can motivate the folks, how can we facilitate that happening?
Mhm.
So that's, because not everyone's going to be able to get there. So that'll be just something for us to think about down the road. But yes, in terms of going ahead and doing the RFP.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, those numbers,
All right, next item, follow up from the town meeting. Does the board want to start directing residents to take their C&D directly to Casella?
Construction and demo.
You remember, Kevin, I think we figured out what we would be saving.
Well, yeah, and I was thinking this would be in place of amnesty, once
Right.
we were done with amnesty, but, because he'll still be collecting that, I would think, during amnesty weeks.
So May 1st, say,
So you're saying don't do this year?
Right, we're doing this next year.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you can do it anytime.
I'd be in favor of that.
Selectman Scanlon?
one of my concerns is that Casella is routinely refused to shut down from public dumping there. I don't know if you saw it in Northfield, they stopped their collection and then people went to Casella and Casella wouldn't take it either. So we'll have to check to make sure that Casella will still, and will continue to accept our, what do you call it? C&D.
And that stuff you have to drive over the scale. They make you pay by the pound, which is bodes well for us. It's not like they're just gonna take stuff. You know what I mean? Go ahead and throw it in the big dumpster.
And if you were going to do it this year, I would think it would be after the first amnesty, so you can really educate people, put up signs that Public Works. so
We have
you
to
get the
check
most
with,
number of
we do
people.
have to check with Casella to make sure that our residents will still have a place, but given the
Reasonable
fact that,
hours.
Yeah.
Saturdays.
yeah, like I told Bob Hardy, there's no need for me to help pay for the removal of his debt or him to repay for the removal of mine. That construction and demolition stuff is my responsibility at that point.
Well, it's being abused too, but
It is.
can we table this to see if we can check with Kevin and maybe get some information from Casella over in Belmont and see if they can and what the questions are here, and then perhaps in a couple of weeks, maybe have the answers to that.
I'd rather do it that way.
I want to jump into it real quick and then,
Okay.
And I would suggest that if we, maybe in preparation of going forward with that the ability to inform the folks who come in, whether it's pamphlet form and being able to hand it to them so that they would understand in the future. But that's, I
And
may have,
that with the tax bills.
yes, I may have the cart before the horse a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
education would
I
help.
think that would be an ideal situation, what Joe said, maybe in the tax bill when
Yeah.
Jeannie writes the newsletter, say, hey, this is what's going on. We're gonna do this going forward. I'm not gonna have construction and demo out there. That's an excellent idea.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, or my report, Department of Natural and Cultural Resources has released its current round of grant opportunities, and grant available anywhere from matching grant from $35,000 to $500,000. And I did have a conversation with the program specialist about funding the Tilton Island.
I think we already agreed on this. Because we already agreed to allow you to go ahead and do grants, right?
Yeah, this was in the report. And this is a little different because what I'm talking about is getting the money for a specific project, not just seeking out.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Next, everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Next item, DOT. We've been back and forth, Tim and I, and Leanne and Kevin had met with DOT, over a year ago about Cale Hill Road. We went back to them after talking to the board and said, because the allocation was 3.25 million, 3,250,000, and but we were not sure about what the engineering, what it would actually cost. And so we went back to DOT and said, well, if you pay for the engineering study and hold us harmless if the engineering study comes back and says it's going to be $5 million and not make us pursue this because it's more expensive than what you're willing to give us in terms of funds. That's what we would want in this agreement. Well, they amazingly agreed to it, which is, I guess, a little concerning because how they really want to get rid of this road.
I think it's gonna be a lot more than $3 million.
So the next step is we thought that it might be good to have a public meeting with the people who live on Caleb Hill Road to see what they think about whether we should pursue this, because once it's ours, it's ours. And
But not just the people on
everything under
Caleb Hill, right?
that's all that's getting fixed is Caleb Hill.
I know, but it's taxpayers' burden, not just Caleb Hill.
Right, but the way that this board has always done it in the past is to see the people who are being impacted on the road, to see what they think. Certainly, obviously, it's open to anyone, public, you wouldn't say no one could come, but
We'd only send out so many invitations. It was listed as a public meeting / public hearing. That would, of course, be open to the public.
Mr.
And
Scanlon,
invite specifically those people on Caleb Hill
Right.
Road.
Mr. Scanlon,
Problem is, if you only invite the people on Caleb Hill Road and everybody else is paying for it, you're kind of tilting the scale on who's going to want it and who's not. I heard a lot of people saying, why should we be taking on this burden for one road in town that I don't even drive on ever? So if you only have the people in that neighborhood vote on it, well, everybody can vote on it. If you only kind of groom or invite certain people, get an invitation to attend.
so to be clear, it would be posted in the newspaper, but just like we did before with other things that have impacted neighborhoods, we specifically delivered a letter to them saying, this is going to be a discussion at a selectmen's meeting, and then it's been in the newspaper, it's been posted, and people come or don't come. So it's really, and it's not about a vote. I don't envision it as a vote. I envision it as getting much like the
Consensus.
advisory opinion.
Yeah.
But how
that
can you
got a
get
town
consensus if you send out? And what I'm saying is, we're purchasing the road, and the people we're trying to get there are the people that are going to get a written notice that comes to them and handed to them or mailed to them, are all the residents on Caleb Hill Road. The
No,
other
John,
ones will
listen.
have to catch it in the newspaper or notice the other thing. It should all be, the same way, because it's, all the voters are paying for this. Whereas, if we're fixing a road or something like that, that's one thing, but we're talking $3 million, and that's to begin with, because from now on, we have to also plow that road, we have to sand that road, we have to pave it again, we have to put lines on it and everything. So it's
Plow that
a little
road
bit
now.
We winter maintenance that
Or
road.
the wind, yeah.
But I agree with what Jeannie is saying, though. In the past, what we've done when we've had large projects, we've said when we did the whole project, the Cedar Street and so on and so forth, even though they were town roads,
Silver Lake.
well, Silver Lake, for instance, we did. We sent out letters to them specifying that this is a public hearing. This is what's going on to specific residents of the Silver Lake Road. However, what we did is we said there's going to be a public hearing on Caleb Hill Road, and this is what we're going to talk about. But a letter went out to the residents of Caleb Hill Road because it directly impacts Caleb Hill Road. So at the beginning, I misunderstood Jeannie, as I have all night, but when she said a letter was just going to go out to Caleb Hill Road, and what I think what she's saying is that it's a public hearing for everybody, but we are going to send out Cayleville Road specifically because it highly impacts them. It's months and months and months and months of impact on them, but it's overall impacting the town because of the financial burden that's going to be placed on them. And it's going to impact the town because it's going to be taken over as a town road forever and ever and ever. So I do agree with Jeannie on this one, that if it's listed as a public hearing and it's posted on the website and we keep mentioning at the meetings here, unfortunately, it's every other week, so it's only every other week that it's less of a time that we have to post the meetings, that we say, hey, you ought to come.
Well, more than the website.
Yeah, more than the website and the paper, whatever. We need to get the word out there. I agree.
Agree.
Does that make sense?
When would we have the public hearing?
Public meeting,
Mhm.
and I would say April, I mean, we're not in any hurry.
Mhm.
So I would say the second meeting in April, you have, on April 7th, you have the public hearing on Comcast.
So the 21st.
That'll probably be pretty short.
Well, you could do that then if you want.
Last time we had a public hearing relative to the cable franchise, I don't believe anybody showed up.
Well,
I think it's different
I
today.
think it's very different because I don't know about anybody else, but I just got a $50 credit on mine because of all of the problems that I've had on Maple Court with the cable. I'm ready to right over. I can't wait for somebody else to come in. I don't care who it is.
Well, those who have the current thing will still have the current thing.
Well, they need to know that there's going to be options and what the options are. And I think people realizing that somebody else, other than what we have, may or may not be able to come in, they may show up.
Our franchise only has to do with TV, it has nothing to do with internet.
That's correct.
That's my problem is TV.
So,
They said it-
Calypso, do we want to do this or no?
Combine them?
No, do you want to have a public meeting in Calypso?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
So on the 28th, you
Yeah,
think?
let's do it the following meeting, not the 7th.
Okay.
the 21st.
Okay. You
When-
mean the 7th or the 21st?
Are we meeting this?
21st.
Wait a minute, today's the 17th. Are we meeting on the 31st?
I wasn't planning to. I
Well,
thought it was the first and third Thursday of the month.
I thought it was every other week.
Hmm.
Did we change?
That was my impression, that it was every other week, regardless of what days it fell on.
Did we change it
So-
already?
Yeah.
So
Okay,
just if you do that, then it's gonna throw it off, just so you know.
How's that?
But then it wouldn't be the 7th.
Right.
It would actually wouldn't go until the 14th, it would be the 14th and the 28th.
Yep.
So
The 12th
how it's
and the
listed on the website right now is the first and third Thursday of the month.
the first and third Thursday. I
There
didn't,
are a few months that.
I didn't vote for that. I voted for every other, well, I didn't vote for that either, but the way it was, motion was every other Thursday.
Yeah.
I
Really
thought
was.
it was the first and third.
Let's go back and get an exact gander
Okay.
at the motion. But my understanding was that it was every other week.
But that would throw the schedule off until,
Oops.
oh, I'm just saying.
Well, then if it's every other week, then we've got 3 weeks without no meeting.
There you go.
And then are you gonna be here midnight on the 7th?
Well, let's take a look at it, but my understanding is every other week. And I would rather go every other week.
Mr. Scanlon?
So we could go and keep it on the 1st and 3rd, but also add in the 31st and have that as the public hearing only. And then that way we stay on the schedule, but we have one extra meeting.
We're
And we-
talking March
which we allowed
31st,
for.
and that's not enough time to have a public meeting. Because it's the 17th already, that's 2 weeks away from tonight. Wouldn't be fair to the public.
I don't think we can get all the information necessary.
Yeah, right.
Why don't we come back next time and we'll set a date for this public meeting? That would be my suggestion.
And then you figure out whether we said every other week or
Yeah, we
first
can
and third.
look at the motion and we'll go from there.
Okay, the next item, there was a email that I sent to the board about the meals and rooms tax, and I did speak with somebody in the, today in the legislature, and it looks unlikely that the governor's proposal to suspend the meals and rooms tax would happen, so very unlikely that that's going to happen. The legislative body is not interested in pursuing this.
Hopefully.
I have a PAR for Kim Souls. I have a PAR for Rebecca Albert, 2 signatures, one for the performance evaluation and one for the PAR.
Are they both here? Are we gonna talk about that? I'm not. The one that John has. Did we make a decision on that?
I thought we were good with it.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just thought
I
I was.
thought we had the discussion from last meeting. I told the board that that was coming up, and I thought you all had agreed to that. If you want to go into non-public and talk about it again, that's.
Was there a motion on
I don't. Go back and look. Whether it was a motion.
it? It could be. I'm just asking that question. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think we're right here. We even said that.
Yeah, I believe that's.
Assuming you're passing, them.
What?
This is your wife's
Oh.
payroll.
I believe there was.
That's what,
I'd like to read it.
that's exactly what we voted on.
I didn't see the other one. I don't remember.
Yeah, and it makes that permanent.
That was what it was, because we had discussed that.
I remember discussing the increase, but I don't remember discussing the permanent.
Does the back page need to be signed? Jeannie, does the back page on this one need to be signed?
If.
It's a selectman, so.
It's got,
No, it was her,
I have to
Okay.
assume it
it's
is.
okay. It was just her handwriting to me
okay,
as
okay.
the draft.
Anyway,
Got it.
shouldn't say temporary. With regard to the next item on your bullet list, I would definitely like to speak with Representative Lang about this particular bill, as well as the lack of official communication between him and us. Now, I understand that he doesn't represent us per se.
He does.
He does. He's-
Well, as individuals, yes, but he represents voters. And
In the town of Sanperton and the town of Tilton.
in the town of Tilton, I would like to know why we don't get to see him very much down here.
Well, he's not the only one though.
I understand that. And occasionally, other representatives will come by, although it has been some time since he's been. But I don't recall ever seeing him come in and talk.
When he was up for election.
I think I'm different than Joe. I don't want to hear about the bill that's been tossed out. And very honestly, I personally think, and looking at it, I think that's a school district piece. Not technically, I don't really need an explanation of it. I know what was being proposed.
I don't think I didn't get that from Joe. I think he's asking about the lack of communication between.
Whenever-
My most
No, that-
main.
Whatever we do about
That
the
is,
bill,
that
take
I
into us.
100% agree with. In terms
Before
of
he
this piece,
proposed this,
I
he
could care
didn't
less.
say anything. This directly, in fact, it could well directly impact us hugely. And yet I heard nothing from our representative prior to him trying to make this into law.
Right.
So my question is, who are you representing exactly? Right.
Oh, there's a couple other pieces that he has sponsored as well,
Oh, yes, there is.
in terms of, yes. So,
Oh, send me a link. I'm not here.
I think
Wanna
just
know
giving
which
a
one.
legislative update to the people that he represents
He
is
does on,
crucial of his job.
he does on Facebook.
That's not, everyone doesn't have access to Facebook.
I
Everyone,
agree.
and I think that he,
Yeah, you're holding it. No, I agree with you, Eric, on that one.
yeah, I read him on Facebook, but it gets me more and more upset because I shouldn't have to go to Facebook to read about everything that our representative is doing.
We had a representative that came in and also had a town meeting once in a while that residents could come and hear their differences with what's going on in the town of Tilton and see, and actually hold like a mini town meeting down at the town hall downstairs. And
It didn't used to somebody to come and like, just come in and
you
just.
just say, hey, chat with your representative, and sometimes there was legislation that was created out of that. It happened. I mean, our representatives were very good at representing Tilton. I mean, Jeannie was a fine example of that. Always checked in with us. Hey, how can I help? What can happen? And said, this is what's coming up and this is what's happening to impact Tilton. Dennis Fields was excellent at that.
Oh, pal Debbie.
Could come in and say, this is, just walk in and say, this is what's impacting you right now. And, but we don't hear from, it was Ian after that and now Tim and we don't hear from them. It's sad.
Yeah, so Selectman Justman, I agree with you.
Send me an invite.
Do we do it?
But I don't want to, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear about the thing that was voted out of committee 19-0.
No,
There's no reason.
no, it even failed higher up. It was a failure right out of the gate.
Waste of time.
Yeah.
That he
Didn't
did.
even get to drive.
Yes, but yes, extend the invite for him to come give us an update, but not on this.
Do we do Christmas vacation style?
No.
So that's all I have.
All right, I don't understand this. So
Hold on, I gotta use this paper shuffle.
There's a class on that one.
I know, I got it. Paper shuffling? Excellent. Thanks. With the time being 7:11, I make a motion to enter into non-public session per RSA 91A 3, Section 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has the right to a public meeting, and 2, requests that meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted, and in RSA 91A3 2B, the hiring of any person as public employees.
Jessamine, second.
Roll call vote.
Constantino, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Byron, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We're now in non-public session.
This
Here.
conference will now be recorded.
I'm there.
So I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public minutes of March 17th, 2022, because the reasons justify the need for the non-public session still remain.
Byron, second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor of sealing the minutes from the non-public session, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any new business to come before the board?
Joe might have something.
Mr. Jessamine,
This isn't technically new, but motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
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 Best one.
Opposed?